The Steelers take a loss in Week 16 to the Baltimore Ravens, giving up 34 points to Baltimore in a 34-17 loss on the road. Their second 14-point loss in a row to a playoff team. Is it time to panic in Pittsburgh? I'm going to answer that question throughout today's Steelers Talk postgame show. I am your host, Jack Sperry. Welcome in. Okay, now let's get into my brief recap of the game here. 34-17. Steelers were in it. Minkah Fitzpatrick got that big interception in the red zone against Lamar Jackson. Things looked like the tide was turning, and then Russell Wilson throws a pick six. You go down 2 scores. You give the ball back to the Ravens, and they score a field goal at 17 points. Boom, game over. But the Steelers were in this game for most of it, and, we'll get into Russell Wilson and his turnovers and why they played such a big factor. But another big factor was the Steelers' defense just couldn't really stop the Ravens at all in this game. Lamar Jackson didn't play his best game in the world, but he didn't need to because Derrick Henry had more carries than Lamar Jackson had pass attempts in this game, and that's never a good success against the Baltimore Ravens. Henry had 162 yards rushing, which set up Lamar Jackson to throw 3 touchdowns in the red zone in this game. Also, Zay Flowers came up huge with the injuries to the Steelers secondary, collecting 100 yards in this one. On the bright side, Jaylen Warren had a pretty decent game, 48 yards rushing, and he added quite a few yards as a receiver as well. Calvin Austin III had a couple of really nice catches, big-time catches in this football game. But overall, man, the Steelers just need to play better football, and I think they will once they get all these injuries back. And honestly, guys, my first takeaway here is that it was deja vu. Because it's very, very similar to that Eagles game last week. You're kind of with them, and then all of a sudden there's a major turnover that turns the tide, and it's just downhill from there. And, it really reminded me of that game, and you can't make those kinds of mistakes. You can't have that fumble from Najee Harris against the Eagles. You can't have that pick six from Russell Wilson. Can't have that fumble at the 5-yard line from Russell Wilson. And, those injuries or those turnovers, those injuries that happened today, all these different things. Joey Porter Jr. left with the calf. I mean, it's just a tough situation. Going into a tough environment there in Baltimore, like he did with Philly last week, playing a good-ass football team, man. The Eagles and Ravens are 2 really, really good football teams, man. And, with the injuries that the Steelers were having and they've been dealing with, it was just always going to be tough to go into Baltimore and win. The injuries really did kill the Pittsburgh Steelers once again. Joey Porter Jr. Left this one with a calf issue. We're going to keep you updated on his status heading into the Christmas Day game against Kansas City. But, it's definitely not looking good for his prospects to play on Wednesday. You're kind of just hoping that he's going to be ready and available for the postseason. A common thread with some of these injuries that the Steelers have been acquiring here. Joey Porter Jr., his presence was obviously missed again. All these different things. Joey Porter Jr. losing your number 1 corner. Didn't have Dante Jackson today. I mean, it was just very, very tough to stop the Ravens, whether it be with the run or the pass, because your secondary was so banged up. And then, it was tough to move the ball offensively because George Pickens, your number 1 threat, wasn't there offensively either. So let me know down there in the comments section, who do you blame for the loss? I'm going to give you my answer to this question here in just a second, but let me know, who do you blame for the loss today? It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know who you blame for the loss here in Week 16. The reason why I think the Steelers lost today, or the biggest reason, there's a number of reasons, but, Russell Wilson's 2 turnovers were very, very crucial, especially to the outcome of this game, because, you have the ball, you're driving, he's running towards the end zone, he doesn't go down, and he coughs up the football at the 5-yard line. That cost you probably at least 3 points, maybe 7 points, and then the Ravens go and take that momentum all the way down to score a touchdown, and then he throws the pick six, which obviously gives the Ravens another 7 points. So those 2 turnovers were very, very crucial to this game. They can't happen. Now, the thing with Russell Wilson is that I do blame him for the loss today, or at least I think he's the biggest reason why the Steelers lost. But he came into the game this week with the lowest turnover-worthy play percentage in the National Football League. So am I particularly worried that Russell Wilson is going to be having these bone-crushing turnovers week in and week out down the stretch? No, I'm not worried about it at all. All right, this was kind of an outlier game to me where Russ had 2 key turnovers, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles in the National Football League at times. I think those turnovers were the biggest reason why the Ravens were able to run away and kind of win this game by 3 scores. But in the future, I don't expect Russell Wilson to have these kinds of turnovers because that's not the type of player he usually is. So coming up here on Steelers Talk, we're going to be breaking down more takeaways from this loss here. Got 3 more to share with you guys. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at PrizePicks. And PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action all on your phone this football season. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Join now because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. So unfortunately today, Lamar Jackson did throw 3 touchdown passes. So the less did not hit on that. I took the more on Mike Williams' receiving yards. That did hit. And then same thing with Calvin Austin, the 3rd receiving yards. Fortunately, Lamar Jackson just got in the end zone too many times. But you guys can download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup when you download the PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, guys, so we got my takeaways here coming up here once again. But, when it comes to this game, guys, plain and simply, 34-17, those turnovers were absolutely huge for Russell Wilson, obviously. The defense unable to stop Derrick Henry, especially when it mattered again. Mike Tomlin inexplicably going for it. And then all of a sudden punting it when you really need to be going for it. The game management from Tomlin at the end of that second half was not good enough. But obviously, guys, the Ravens just outclassed the Steelers in that second half. And even though you had a chance to win this football game, that shows the Steelers team's grit, all these different things. It just wasn't enough to get the job done today. But there are some positives to take away from this game. First one is that the offense looked better this week than it did last week against Philly. All right, they were able to run the football way more effectively. I honestly thought Arthur Smith didn't run the ball enough, especially early on in this game. They got the run game going with Jaylen Warren, with Najee Harris. And honestly, Russell Wilson had some good moments today despite not having George Pickens. He had a nice deep ball to Calvin Austin III. He showed up big on a couple of 3rd and mediums and 3rd and longs. He got 2 touchdown passes. He had threw just an absolutely beautiful touch pass to Cordero Patterson for a touchdown. Russ had some good moments today. He did. But like I talked about, guys, you can do all the good stuff that you want, but if you're going to be giving up a fumble at the 5-yard line, and then you give up an interception, a pick 6, it's going to be tough to win that game no matter who you're playing, especially if that team is the Baltimore Ravens, and especially if your defense is as banged up as it was. But Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, both had decent games today. Wish they would have got the ball more, especially in the hands of Jaylen Warren. He was really, really good as a receiver today. Good job by Russell Wilson to find him as an outlet. But overall, I thought the offense was better today. And honestly, when you get George Pickens back, I think this offense is going to lead right where they left off. And I'm not too worried about it long-term in terms of the postseason and what this offense looks like. And I'm going to preach patience here, guys. I really am. I'm old enough to remember here where after the Colts and Cowboys games, the season was over. The Steelers can't beat anybody. They're terrible. And what'd they do? They rattled off 5 straight wins. Then you lose to the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football. And people panicked again. And they said, Jack, no way the Steelers are a good football team. They just lost to the Browns on Thursday Night Football. Well, guess what? They won 2 straight games. All right? And then, now people are telling me, Jack, we've lost 2 straight. Even though we've had all these injuries, even though we played arguably 2 of the 6 best teams in football on the road, and the season's over. We can't win in the playoffs. I'm preaching patience to you guys because I think when George Pickens gets back, when Joey Porter Jr. gets back, when Dante Jackson gets back, when Deshaun Elliott gets back, when Larry Ogunjobi gets back, when all these guys who are injured get back and they're all slated to be back for the postseason, I think the Steelers will absolutely be able to win football games in the playoffs. Now, with these injuries, they're not as good of a football team, obviously. But when these guys get back, and they will get back, I do think this team will be better. Then my final takeaway here, guys, is that Pittsburgh still controls their destiny. If they win versus Kansas City on Wednesday on Christmas, and then they win versus Cincinnati, both are home games. Both are very winnable, in my opinion. The Steelers win the division. All right, so people are talking about this game right now like the Steelers just lost to the division. It's certainly possible that the Ravens swoop in last minute. Okay, they're technically tied right now. They have the same record heading into the final 2 weeks. But I think that the Steelers have a good opportunity here. If they win the next 2 games, they clinch. Their destiny is theirs. As long as they keep winning from this point forward, they're going to be just fine. And I do think with George Pickens on the mend and all these other injuries looking like they're going to be on the mend here moving forward, I think the Steelers are still going to be competitors in the AFC playoff picture this year. So how worried are you about the Steelers? Put it on a scale of 1, meaning not worried at all, I'm chilling, to 10, meaning I'm absolutely panicking. Steelers, no chance of winning a postseason game. The season's over. 1 to 10, how worried are you? Let me know down there in the comment section. We just got an injury update here from Coop.
Not good. Mike Tomlin says it's a knee injury, not a calf injury for Joey Porter Jr. So not good.
Did he elaborate?
He didn't elaborate. He just said it's a knee injury and was unable to finish, and he'll be reevaluated.
All right, so we'll keep you updated on Joey Porter Jr.'s status as the week goes on. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button. Tomorrow we might talk a little Deontay Johnson. We might talk a little bit about the injury status of all these players heading into Christmas Day. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. I promise you it's going to be just fine.